Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Racer X Exhaust Podcast, brought to you by Yoshimura. 7 decades of four-stroke research and development has culminated with the all-new RS12 exhaust system, already developed for the Suzuki RMZ 450 and 250 in conjunction with the JGR Yoshimura Suzuki factory team, and now rolling out for other brands, including just announced the Yamaha YZ250F. If you look at the RS12 exhaust from Yoshimura, you'll know it looks different than most four-stroke exhaust systems. It sounds different. It performs better. Go to yoshimura-rd.com and check it out. Maybe get yourself a set. Or be ready when one comes out for the brand of motorcycle you ride if it's not a Yamaha or a Suzuki. Today, Jason Weigandt here for the Exhaust Podcast, still at Daytona. Been down here at the World Center of Racing since last Thursday. It is now Wednesday. We've transitioned from Monster Energy Supercross last week to American Flat Track coming up this weekend. Today is their media day, so I am, yes, double dipping. I'm here to do research for our TV show, which will be on NBCSN at 11:30 Saturday night. Hint, hint, if you're watching Supercross from Indianapolis, just keep the TV on and you'll watch our flat track opener. So I'm here to talk to the riders, get info for TV, but I try to check in here on the podcast with Flat Track once or twice a year, and this is my chance to do it. The riders are here doing those hero shots where there's smoke machines in the background and they fold their arms and they look into the camera all intimidating, even though half of them have never had to be intimidating in their lives, but that's just what looks good on TV. So it's fun to watch them do that. But what I also like about this sport, you've probably heard it's growing quickly. There's more money coming in. There's factory rides coming in. But it's also new that I feel like when you talk to these riders, they haven't even learned to be guarded yet around the media or anyone else. They haven't ever dealt with it. So they're open and honest, often to a fault. So I've got 3 interviews coming your way. First will be the defending champ of the Premier Division, now called Super Twins. It's a factory Indian rider, Briar Bauman. Had a podcast with him you might have listened to on here a couple of months ago. And he is exactly what I'm describing. He can sum up the whole series. Briar Bauman is the most laid-back dude ever. He was racing in this series when there wasn't any money in it, and you were really only doing it for fun, to hang out with your buddies, and everyone worked together. It has very quickly turned into a much higher dollar, higher pressure situation, and you can tell he hasn't fully grasped that transition yet. He said he's still coming to the races to have fun with his friends. And yeah, now he just happens to be making money. But he doesn't even know how to deal with all the change completely. Now, what's really funny is Briar won the title last year, taking it away from Jared Mees, who's clearly the dominant name in flat track of this generation, of this era. 7 total AMA championships. And he had dominated 2 seasons previous, 17 and 18. But Mees got upended by Briar. And things have changed quite a bit between those two. At one point, Briar was Mees' kind of protege. They were buddies. They worked together. They trained together. There was zero communication, apparently, between them last year at all. Now, as you'll hear Briar say, Mees has been showing up wherever Briar is and doing a lot of the things Briar does, trying to up his game and figure out what Briar did right in 2020. It's the classic story. The guy that's on top helps the young guy, then the young guy upends him, and then the guy on top, you know, the mentor, the veteran, has to reset himself to try to beat the kid again. And that's the story that we have coming into 2020. And you would never hear this stuff in most motorsports, but these guys are so unguarded that they don't even know. So I talked to Jared Mees today. He's on a full, gnarly Aldon Baker training program. He said since December 1st, he has done literally every single thing Aldon has told him to do. I talked to some other riders today, and they're like, dude, it's flat track. It doesn't help that much. The fitness doesn't matter that much. It doesn't matter. He's just doing it because he wants to leave no stone unturned. But hey, man, we know how important the mental side of racing is. If Jared Mees believes that gives him an edge, that's all that matters. You just got to believe that you've got an edge. Now, Briar Bauman also working with Aldon, and he'll talk about that. Briar's fiancée is Shayna Texter. She is riding for Red Bull KTM in the singles class. Flat track is divided into 2 divisions, twins and singles, just like we're used to 450s and 250s in our sport. Shayna's quite the sensation because she races against the guys. She wins races against the guys. She could win the title one of these years in the singles class against the guys. So on this show, I'm going to talk to Briar. Then I'm going to talk to Shayna about all the media work that she does. And, of course, her prospects for this season. And I'll also real quick talk to last year's singles champ, who has now moved to the Twins division as part of Factory Harley-Davidson now, Dalton Gautier. So we've got a factory Indian rider, a factory Red Bull KTM rider, and a factory Harley-Davidson rider. 3 factory rides. These were virtually non-existent in flat track just a few years ago. So these guys are pumped, and the gal is pumped that this is all here. Something they're not used to, something they're trying to adjust to. The sport's in a real sweet spot where I feel it has the professionalism and the intensity and the preparation where everybody's going for it to try to win, but they're not as guarded, not as vanilla, not as jaded. They're into it. And when you come to a media day like this, they all say, yeah, I got to do whatever I can to make this sport better. And you're not going to get that. If this goes on for the next 20 or 30 years, they're going to be like the Supercross guys. When they have to do a media day at the beginning of the year, they're going to be Jason Anderson going on social media saying, I don't need help with a media game. I know what I'm doing. You're not going to get that today from these guys. It's just the difference of a sport that's on the rise, and they've never seen money before, and now the checks are coming in. They are gung-ho. So it's a good group to hang out with. Watch the show, 11:30 Saturday night after Indy Supercross. And by the way, I will still go to Indianapolis. One last public service announcement. Go to Indianapolis Friday. We will have a live show. Go to RacerX online right now. You can see the details. Myself, Mathis, Kiefer, JT. Go to our live show in Indy. I will be there Friday night for that, and I will fly back to Daytona for flat track. All right, enjoy the show. Here is Briar Bauman. Okay, Briar Bauman, you're the champ. I know that you've probably been asked 90 times already, is it going to be harder to defend it? But honestly, I feel like once you get it one time, you've dealt with pressure enough. Like, shouldn't it be easier the second time around?
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. I have answered that one a lot, and it's like, I've dreamt of this my whole life.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was ever going to get it.
Yeah.
The knots that I had in my stomach, like the first couple weeks, like leading up to it, when we were getting to the halfway point, and then from there on out, like, I don't know how I could ever get back to that spot.
Right.
Now that I've dealt with it and I like mentally have it in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I'd go to bed at night just like thinking of every scenario that could go wrong, and you're stressing over things. And now that I'm here and I've done it, it's like, why was I stressing about that? So, yeah, for me, like I said, I didn't know if that was ever going to happen. I came from some pretty bad spots in my career, so now I'm just going to keep riding with it and just try and make myself better every weekend, and hopefully it goes our way.
I'm amazed you're admitting that. You're admitting that last year your stomach was in knots at times.
Oh, yeah. No, it was stressful, man.
Right.
I mean, we did an interview together, and I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know.
In the interview?
Like, interview in life.
At the races.
In life.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know if I should have a game plan going out on the track. Like, all right, we're 3 races left. I need to get this place. Like, it was every time I'm like, I guess I just send it. Like, that's what I do. Like, that's what I've always done. So, yeah, I had no idea. And now I still can't say I have a better idea, but I've experienced it. So at least I have that on my side. And they say there's nothing better than experience. So really this year it's kind of the same deal. I kind of had the mentality last year I just wanted to send it, where this year I kind of want to just get better as a racer and focus on things I struggle on. So, yeah, hopefully we're doing that. We'll be able to do it again, but it's just I just have a different outlook, I think, than maybe some guys. I don't get too serious about it. I know I don't focus on other people too much. I just try and focus on me and Shayna as much as possible and just try and make us better. So.
Yeah, it sounds like, I heard this quote from you, or read this quote from you in an interview. You don't think too much.
Yeah.
You really don't.
No, I really don't. I mean, it's funny. We get with the team and we do our testing and stuff, and I try and find a setting that I like. And, man, if you actually looked at what we changed last year, even on the days that we struggled, you'd think that there was no way. I mean, a couple clicks here, a couple clicks there. We get to adjust our offsets a little bit with the steering head. Some of that gearing, but we didn't change anything. Like, I really, Indian Motorcycle built a bike that you just get on, you just go for it, and it's usually pretty stinking good. So, also, my team did a good job. We showed up with a good base setting when we got there for whatever the track type was. But, man, I try not to overthink things. I do analyze, I do study a lot, but when it comes, push comes to shove, like, me worrying about what someone else is doing, or if the bike is not working when I get out on the track, like, if I think about that while I'm out there beforehand, what's it going to do for me except stress me out? So I really just try and be adaptive. And I think for me, being adaptive means not overthinking what I got. So that's just kind of my mentality, really.
I don't see how this would happen, but let's say the year starts and you're like struggling big time. Would it all of a sudden start being weird? Like, because before you didn't know where you should be. Now winning should be the only acceptable answer after a few weeks. Is that potentially a problem if it goes sideways where you'll be like, hey, wait, this is a new situation where I'm expecting to win and I'm not?
Yeah, I think so. Probably. I haven't dealt with that. I've always not won. And then last year, like, I mean, it was something I thought about a couple months ago. I'm like, shoot, I had 15 podiums. Every time I finished a race, I podiumed. Like, well, what do I do this year if that's not the scenario? Like,
exactly.
Like, I never took a 4th place and didn't go to the podium or go to like post-race tech inspection.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, like, I still have this mentality that I ride for an incredible organization, Indian Motorcycle. If I don't get it done, then I need to look at what I'm doing more than anything else, not overthink other things outside of it, and just kind of focus on what I can do better, you know, what went wrong. And just, I think that I still have a lot of room to grow personally. I mean, I'm 24. I didn't expect to have what I had last year, and now I'm trying to make things better. So I'm hoping we can get better in areas I struggled at, and I hope I don't get that position, but maybe after a couple weeks of not podium or whatever the case may be, if we have that, we'll talk about it. Maybe I'll be spun out and not know which way is up, but I don't know. I mean, it's weird to say, but I keep getting myself into scenarios I've never been in before, and I'm kind of like, well, I guess this is what they call life, because I got to learn here quick in a short amount of time. So that's kind of been the go-to, is just adapt to everything that we have. So we'll see.
What also makes it seem more serious, you got this Aldon Baker deal. You were not involved last year, but you were like there a little bit. So talk about the evolution. And a lot of it comes from your fiancée, Shayna, who's with KTM, kind of connected to Aldon. Explain this whole evolution with Aldon Baker.
Yeah, last year Shayna had the opportunity to start training with Aldon. I got the chance just to go out there, which was, you know, a dream in its own. I used to watch every video I could possibly watch on the guy. He's a legend to me, and now like we text pretty constantly. So so she started last year with him. I got to tag along and go and ride. Never really did anything with him. We had some small talk here and there, and this offseason there was a deal that came about that allowed me to get on the program as well, and I got to start in November, start base stuff, and it's been brutal, actually.
I would think, yeah.
I did things a lot differently, which it worked, but at the same time, I feel like this year's about me growing as a person and trying new things and being better, which I feel like there's a lot of areas I struggled in last year. So Aldon's been so cool. I've had the chance to ride an Indian 2 times a week for the last 2 months. Indian gave me a practice bike, which is unheard of in flat track.
I was going to say, this is not normal, right?
It's not normal, but I want it to be. Like, this is part of, that's another thing I want to do this year, is just grow the sport as a whole. Like, there's no reason we shouldn't be on our bikes twice a week going into the season for 2 months. You need to know what you have. So Indian Motorcycle did that. They gave me a bike to practice on, which is unheard of, and Aldon built a track there for us to ride, which is awesome. And everything's been sweet. It's been a really cool change. I'm worn down some days, but it's one of those deals where when you get done, you're like, I think it's gonna be worth it for sure. So, and even so, like, I come in from my moto or my ride and put the bike on the stand, and then Cooper and Zach roll in, and it's like, what the heck am I into? So no, it's been really, really cool. More of a dream, and I'm just going through the motions and doing everything he says, and I get to live a dream, really.
Since his main focus is the Supercross guys, does it still feel like, though, when you're talking to him or texting him, that he's giving you full focus at the same time?
Yeah, which is weird for me, because like, that was one of the things he actually had a talk with me and Shayna before everything went down this year. Like, so we did all our base stuff, and then we rolled in to have our first meeting at the shop before we start when we got here. And he's like, hey, I need you guys to bug me to the point where I need to say, hey, mellow out. And I'm thinking, like, every time Shayna would text him or call him last season, she felt like an inconvenience. Yeah. And that's kind of where I was at for the first couple weeks. And it's weird because, like, I think of all the guys he has and the stature they have and what they're going for. And you would think someone like him would not want us to bug him or whatever the case may be. And, man, I can text him and he'll respond within a couple. I mean, if he's not too busy, like, he'll respond instantly with, a scenario. Say I have a scenario that we need to change something, and he is on it. So it's crazy to think, like I said, I'm a huge fanboy. I love all motorsports, and for me, I look at him and like, man, I'm going to bug him for sure. But no, he's on top of everything at all times. If there's a question, he answers it, and it's really, really cool because, like I said, to me, he's a legend, and he still has the time for us any time of the day.
So you're the champ at the same time the series is growing, and there's a factory ride at like a higher level than a lot of factory rides in the past have been. Do you have any feeling right now you're like, oh, I have to be the spokesperson, or I'm a role model, or have people talked to you about this? Have you thought about that yourself, that now you're almost a spokesperson for this entire sport now?
Yeah, no one's really talked to me about it, honestly. But I've thought about it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I look at the sport, and it took until like last year when, to be honest with you, when I went through the fence at Minnesota, that I was like, man, what we do is pretty gnarly sometimes.
Okay.
Like, I have so much respect for Supercross guys because I watch them, the rhythms that everything. Like, I get to watch them now during the week. But in the same sense, what we do is brutal. It can be gnarly. Like, I went through the fence at 120 mile an hour.
Yeah.
So, like, I want to grow what we do. Like, I get to watch Zach Osborne. He, like, loves flat track. He watches all the races. He literally drives the cart out to watch us practice in between his motos. And it's like, wait.
Shocker.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, you like what we do? So,
I hate to tell you, I don't want to burst your bubble. Zach would watch Speedway. He'd watch ice racing. He'd watch hill climb.
He loves motorcycling.
Yes,
he loves motorcycling.
Yes.
But, no, it's cool. So, I just want to help grow the sport, honestly.
Right, okay.
Whether that's me doing more media stuff that I don't want to do, or if anything that I can do to help grow it. Like, I've talked to myself. I talked with Shayna about it. I'm like, I just want to be a role model for kids coming up. I want to be a spokesperson for AFT that isn't super dry. Like, we need personality. We need everything we can get, and I just want to do what I can, which I don't know what that is yet. But I just want to do it. Like, if they have an opportunity for me to do something I've never done, I'm going to do it because I think we need to. What we do is pretty cool.
You probably have to have learned just by being at her side, though, because she was pulled a million directions the last couple of years. She'd almost become the spokesperson for the sport, even though she's in a singles class. So you probably learned from that.
Yeah, no, I saw her fly out to do things that like New York Times, like just stuff that, crazy stuff. So, and she takes the time to do all of it, which is really, really cool. Even if it's between a week where we're traveling, she has to go up to New York or she has to go somewhere to like Charlotte, she does it. So, I mean, and it's grown her and it's grown the sport. People have seen it because she's a woman and because she's a great athlete. So, if I have to do things that I don't want to do, I'm going to do it because I think that we need to get ourselves out there as much as we possibly can. I was on NASCAR today or whatever the live TV deal is with Al Geyer and a couple other guys, and it was weird for me. But one thing I've learned with Aldon is being comfortable in uncomfortable situations is pretty good for you. So it's I'm willing to do that, and I just want to grow what we have.
So this is so funny. Maybe people don't know. So you guys are engaged. You live together. You ride the two classes. Yeah. Sometimes you win or podium on the same night. And then I'm sure you have a lot of other riders in your orbit. Your brother races on your same team. Yeah. It's pretty crazy how small this sport kind of is in that sense, where everybody kind of knows each other so well.
It's tough sometimes because, like, especially me, I'm a friendly guy. I tell people all the time, I go to the track to see my friends, and then we race while we're there, which I don't know how Indian takes that sometimes, but I won, so they're okay with it.
Okay.
But yeah, like, we're so close. I mean, leading up to the I think maybe Williams Grove, pretty stressful time for us. I had 4 different guys. I think I had Jared Vanderkoy, maybe Ryan Wells. I don't even remember who was there, but my brother. We had so many different dudes. And
at your house?
At my house. Staying at my house because I'm an hour from Williams Grove. And we're doing our deal during the day and during the week, like training and hanging out. But it's a lot different probably than, I know it's a lot different than like a lot of the other motorsports. But a lot of us came up together. So when we travel together, go to the track, it's starting to get to a position where it's maybe a little bit different now because we are getting more manufacturers involved and there's more money floating around and people are getting a little bit more serious about it. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to forget where I came from. So it's a small circle, literally. So literally.
Okay, for your performance this year, has the bike changed much? We know your Aldon deal stepped up. Is the bike, and I talked to Mies about this morning, is there really much more room to grow, or is the bike similar to where it was last year?
It's honestly pretty similar. Yeah. We had the flywheel weight restriction put on us, but really that's what I raced with when I first got on the Indian motorcycle in 2018. And I never tested back-to-back, but I actually like it a lot. I like the feel that it gives me. So as far as the bike change, no, man, everything's pretty stinking similar. They're working on power, get a little bit more power, but I mean, they obviously run pretty stinking good as it is.
Right.
So, and to be honest, like completely open and honest, we're looking for more power to get ahead of Jared more than we are any other brand. So that's what we're working on right now. But we've done a bunch of days of testing the last couple of weeks, and the thing is sick, really. It feels so good. I love that bike. So really there's nothing that we've changed any different. Suspension's the same deal. Everything's pretty similar. So it's kind of cool because this is my first time going season to season and having all the same stuff as I roll over. I've always kind of jumped around. So yeah, it's going to be pretty good for us, I think.
Okay, you mentioned that. So people look at the factory Indian team as you and your brother and Jared. It's not really like that, though. Jared, even in the Brian Smith days when Brian was an Indian and Jared was an Indian, he has a separate situation?
Yeah, it's a lot different. I mean, we're all under the same umbrella, but him and his guys kind of do their own deal. They have a little bit more range on certain stuff than we do, which it's good and bad for us. So, yeah, he kind of is. We're teammates, but we're not a team. If that makes any sense. Like he's another guy on the brand for me, and they kind of do their own deal. So it's it's good, bad, indifferent, whatever you want to call it. But it's just kind of how it is. It's how it was with Brad and Brian, and just kind of I think how he negotiated, how contracts kind of came around. So. Yeah, that's just kind of how things shook down.
So you saw or know, like, ooh, his bike's got power and that's what we need, or your team figured that out, or where does that come from?
Yeah, I mean, we got to the miles and his stuff ran really, really good. I struggle anyway because I'm a bigger dude. But at the end of the day, man, his stuff runs really stinking good on the miles. So everyone saw it. We think maybe I needed to change my approach on how I ride sometimes because I am aggressive and I maybe get a little bit too happy getting in the corners. So I go in a little bit maybe too hard and I lose some exit speed.
Okay.
But on top of it, at the end of the day, we saw that I wasn't going to draft him on my best corner. So it's one thing that they've really focused on and then we're really trying to put an emphasis on. So no, it's been good. It's just something we all think we need to get better at.
It is strange announcing these races. I feel like there's times where he'll lead, say, off of turn 4 on the last lap. And you're like, oh man, they could draft him. And it pretty much never happens. Pretty much no one gets by him.
It doesn't. It's frustrating too because like I'm comfortable with outside passes going into the corner, but I've made more than I want to. Like typically, like I'll get half a wheel on him, and when you have half a wheel up the inside, you're usually gonna probably clean the guy out. Like if you go up the inside with half a wheel, you're gonna clean him out. So the only option I have is to kind of roll on the outside, just for safety purposes, really. So, and then we come off 4, and I've played this scenario over and over, and it's like everything's sweet. I'm on his wheel, or I give him half a bike length because I think I took second to him at the miles like 5 times. I tried different scenarios and none of them really added up. And I'm like, guys, I don't know what I could do different. So yeah, it was pretty frustrating because I want to win, just like anyone. But more so, even if I don't win because I messed something up, but just not even having the opportunity, it's kind of frustrating. So yeah, I know I watched every race that you guys were commentating, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna maybe do something, and no, he doesn't.
No,
me pulls a bike length at the line. It's like, well, sorry guys, man. So maybe this year I'll try and blitz him on the outside and leading off 4 a little bit more. But I did get to the point at the end of the season on the miles that I got kind of protective, like Springfield, the crazy one the second day. I actually got to the point where I let him lead off 4. Just because I didn't care if he won, I just needed to take second. So I just hop in behind him, let him do his deal. I knew he'd pull me to the win, or he'd win, I would take second. I'm like, all right, we're good here. But he probably would have went by anyway if I would have led. But yeah, no, it's a game, man. It's a tough game. It's a frustrating game. So it's something I got to learn.
You and Jared, at one point, you were like his little protege guy. And then when I talked to you like midway last year, like, it's not quite like that anymore. Where are we at now?
It's actually pretty funny. This whole offseason, man, I mean, I didn't talk to him once last offseason. Like, things got real weird real fast.
Leading into
2019. Yep, exactly. Leading into 2019. I didn't really talk to him, like, the whole time. Once I got to Florida, things were real weird. He kind of got his space and stayed away. This year, man, I think I spent more time with him than I did the year before in 2017. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, man. He was at every moto track that I went to. He got on Aldon's deal, so we were always at Aldon's together. We were always together. I don't know if that's because of how last year went for me or what the case was. If he thinks that things need to be a little bit different, he needs to be where I'm at or what. But we were together a lot. We never did any training together or anything like that. So I don't know.
It wasn't planned, so to speak. You would just end up at the same place.
I think it was pretty planned, actually. I think someone had a pretty good idea of how to end up at the same spot.
Okay, but it wasn't like you and him were texting at 8 in the morning saying, I'll be here at 11.
No. Shayna got a lot of texts from him, and my brother got a lot of texts from him because he knew we were all together. So it was funny, actually. We all joked about it quite a bit. But yeah, this year, I mean, shoot, it was like you would have thought we planned it because we were there for the last 2.5 months. We were together, really. So Yeah, I mean.
And when you are there together, everybody gets along?
Yeah, we all get along.
Yeah.
It's a little different. It's not so much joking like it was before. I don't know. It's definitely different. There's some animosity, I think, and I like to push his buttons now too because I feel like he maybe is. I don't want to say he's using us a little bit or using me, but he's kind of like a rabbit and a carrot, really. So I push his buttons and mess with him quite a bit if I can, just to get on. Like, he likes to spin his wheels a little bit sometimes, so I like to help those wheels spin.
Okay, yeah. He's gonna follow you around a little bit. You can't just sit there and take it, I guess. You got to do your own thing.
Yeah, exactly. I just do my own deal, and when he asks questions, I kind of give him some different answers, and he kind of questions my answers more than I answer his questions. So it's all in good fun though.
Yeah, because it's not, again, it's still so small around here.
Yeah.
If you had true animosity with somebody, like we want to fight level, I don't even know, could you maintain that? You can't stay away from each other completely, I would think.
I think you could.
Yeah.
I mean, I really came to his house. Like, we're in Florida. He lives down here now 6 or 7 months out of the year, and this is where I have to come to train.
Yeah.
It kind of went both ways because he got on Aldon's deal now that I'm on Aldon's deal. So really, like, that part of the deal, I mean, if we hated each other, I don't know. We're together a lot, so it is what it is. But
right.
I think if it was to that point, I don't know if I'd come to Florida anymore or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I might just change my direction a little bit or go back. I used to go to California all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd go to California and hang out or something, but ride there, do my training there. But no, I mean, it is tough. Like, it's a small circle. It's a small world for us to, there's not all the different training facilities that these guys have. Baggett goes to and does his own deal.
Right.
No one hears from him. Like, we don't have that. Everyone
Yeah, you're going to a public moto track.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everything's public flat tracks, which we've done a lot more of this year. Like, everything is pretty, and half the time it's like, hey, you want to split cost to like rent this place to go ride so you can ride. So it's like you're texting them like, hey man, I need like $500 or whatever it costs,
Right.
So yeah, it's hard to get away really.
Sport's in a weird spot like that where it's become very professional very quickly.
Yeah.
But all of you guys remember what it was like, say, 5 years ago. So there's still a little bit of that involved.
No, there's a lot of that, especially for me. I mean, it's hard because, like we talked about the factories, the teams are getting bigger. We have the Super Twins, but at the end of the day, like, I'm still really good friends with all these guys. Like, there was a group of us at one time going to the moto track. There was like 9 of us. Like, half the Super Twins field was at the moto track on one day. And it's like, holy cow. So you don't really hear that anywhere else. So no, it's we're all trying to grow it together, though. You know what I mean? We all want to make money. We all want to see the sport grow and be successful. And I think that if we got to do things, like I said earlier, that we don't want to do, it's not so bad because right now we're in a better position we were than 3 or 4 years ago. So get along during the week and then do the things we have to do on the weekends.
Last thing is this Daytona race. You've actually had some success here.
Yeah.
But what is it like? Like, I'm telling the moto fans here, this is not the normal flat track type of race at all. So what do you think about it? Is it cool? Is it like just get through it? How do you approach it?
Man, I last year I said I wasn't into it at all. Honestly, I was like, this is gonna be dumb for sure.
Okay.
So when
you want it.
Yeah. So like, and I thought it was cool actually. I thought it turned out to be sick. I'm like, oh man, this is actually a lot of fun.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of in the same boat this year. I'm like, I don't know about this deal at all. Yeah. But maybe once we get rolling, it'll be all right. We did some asphalt testing on a really long straightaway, and man, dude, we're flying. Like, it's very fast. So, and then on the asphalt through the corners, it's so new. It's like, I don't know what to expect, really. Just add on top of me not knowing anything. This is another thing. Like, we're back to the not knowing anything at all. Like, it's my life. So, really, we got to do some testing. I got to feel it. It's not normal for us to do what we're doing, but I think that it's going to be cool to show the fans something a little bit different. Maybe the racing's pretty good. Maybe it helps certain guys. I don't know. So all I know is it's going to be really fast. I know guys are already stressing about tires a little bit because it does chew them up on the asphalt. And then we also have the dirt section where you kind of have to play a chasing game of tires. So a lot of firsts for us. I mean, big time. So I'm into it. I'm not into it. I don't know.
It doesn't seem like, okay, if everybody's thrown for a loop, I would think that would affect you less than other people. Yeah. Because you seem to be able to roll with it. Because half the time you're saying you don't even know what the heck. Yeah, anyway.
No, that's just like, that's how I go about it. Like, it's just like the roll with it. Like, this is so brand new to us that what is stressing about it going to do for me, you know? I grew up riding every type of terrain. I did some road racing. So, like, just let your ability to ride a motorcycle take course and then set the bike up for a flat track race after. So if you can go out and adapt quicker than the next guy, that means you get to set your bike up a little bit quicker and you get to build the rest of the day. You know, we're only here for a short amount of time. I think we ride for a total of like 30 minutes throughout the day. So how are you going to be the best in 30 minutes? And I think that on a track like this, that's so different, ability is key.
You have the number one plate. You must have some ability.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of it was last year. Is just like I put myself in some not good situations last year, like pretty often actually. I probably shouldn't do that, but luckily I was able to kind of get out of it and kind of find a way home. Like where it was kind of like, it's probably not gonna be a very good day, and we were able to make the most of it, get a podium or a win or something like that. So, no, I think that now on top of the ability, I need to become a better racer.
All right. Okay, and that's Briar Bauman. Now we will get to his fiancée, Shayna Texter. This is a royal couple of flat track racing. The fact that a singles title contender, her brother is actually the champion of the production twins class, which is an in-between division, and then her fiancé, Briar, is the champion of the super twins class, the premier division. So Shayna coming up here in just a moment. Just want to mention, though, RacerX Online and, of course, RacerX Magazine from now until April 9th. If you subscribe or renew to the magazine, you'll receive your choice of 2 exclusive BG Creations rider stickers. Go to racerxonline.com/subscribe. What that means is BG Creations, maybe you've seen this guy's work on Instagram. Really cool cartoon drawings of the riders. Made a couple of special ones for us, and we'll send them to you if you subscribe. And it's $30 a year. You're going to get 12 issues of the print magazine, and you'll get it all in digital form, so you can read it really handily on your phone or tablet as well. We'll give you both for $30. It's 12 issues. That's super cheap. Super cheap, folks. $30 a year. All right, here's Shayna Texter. We have Shayna Texter here. I pulled you in for an interview. You've probably been pulled for more media stuff and more interviews in the last 3 years than maybe all the riders combined. Do you ever get tired of this? Being like, I gotta do my media thing. I'm the girl that races the guys. Do you get tired of this ever?
No, I enjoy it. I think it's always good practice to become better at doing it in a sense. But no, I feel like it's my job, and any opportunity that I can use as a female or as a motorcycle racer to evolve the sport is part of it. So.
And look, you're like full-on flat track family, your dad, your brother, et cetera, et cetera. So do you have a little extra pride of like, hey, I'm helping this sport that I'm like born into?
For sure. I know firsthand, some different struggles that my brother has had to go through and my dad as motorcycle racers being a guy. And I also know some struggles that I had to go through in a unique way being a female in the sport. So for me, I've always said if I ever was going to use my female card, and when I won that first national, which happened in 2011, I was going to use it to my fullest potential and do every possible interview, media thing I could do. So for me, I don't usually say no.
Who did you beat when you won that race?
I beat Briar Bauman.
Did you know each other really at that point?
No, I always, I knew him a little bit as an amateur, and obviously we had a couple of races back and forth that year once he turned pro. So we kind of started to know each other pretty closely on the track. So I always tell everyone that's where we first met was the Knoxville podium.
Okay, you beating him.
Yes, I prefer that one.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. So you're winning races year after year in this. So at the end of the season, are you always like, hey, I won races, that's good? Or are you at the point now where if you don't win the title, which you haven't done it yet, you're disappointed? How do you figure your goals at this point?
For me, obviously, I want to win races. So if I went a year not winning races, it would be a heartbreak. Yeah. Obviously, you always try and better yourself every year. So I've gotten third in the championship twice. I came really close to winning the championship in, 2017 with a flat tire issue. So I want to be a champion. My brother is a champion this year, and Briar was a champion. So I feel like the little bit of the dark horse right now. So I, really stepped up this year, and I know TTs are a crucial part of the championship. So that's where my focus is first, getting that main event, hopefully the TT behind me, winning races, doing my job on the ovals, and if I do all that right, I think a championship could come true.
Is there some sort of like number that you have, like, at the moto track I'm like 2 seconds faster now? Like, is there something you can point to say, I know I've improved this much on the TTs? I spent the first part of training on moto, and then I switched to dirt track to TTs right away because I didn't feel like, even though everyone says, hey, you got to go moto, I didn't feel like moto was really paying off for me. It's, the tires and wheels are so much different. The suspension for me is so much different because I run such a lower flat track bike. So I switched to flat track pretty quick down here. And, I trained all year with Briar and Jarrett, two of the best in the sport. Yeah. So for me, having them as my training partners at Aldon's was huge. And, overall, I just feel better. And having their
their advice telling me that I look better and feel better. I think that was pretty cool, and I think I shocked my team manager and mechanic a little bit when they showed up and saw me riding TTs for the first time this year versus last year. So obviously having a little bit of support from them and hearing that's been huge.
So do you have like a TT-ish track that you guys make, or how does that work?
Yeah, so at Aldon's, we don't officially have an actual flat track there or TT, but it's coming.
Okay. I've heard this for a while.
Yeah.
Is it ever going to happen? It is going to happen?
For sure, it's happening.
All right.
It's happening. Okay. So it's super cool. But for right now, Aldon knew how important it was for me for TTs. And he built us a track around one of the Supercross tracks. So we kind of ride around the outside of it and then weave in through the infield and have some jumps and stuff. So it's been really crucial for me just to be spinning laps on my flat track bike.
Well, I think the moto thing was just like, that's the closest you're going to get. But you've actually built a TT track now. So that's got to be better, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And, for me, I noticed last year I was struggling giving up, not from braking hard enough, to where I focused so hard these last few months, going as hard as I can into a corner and grabbing the front brake, to now where I kind of need to bring it back a little bit. And I realize that because I'm killing my roll speed. But I feel a heck of a lot closer than I've ever been. I feel a lot looser on the bike, not as stiff. And we did some asphalt training up at Bushnell a couple times. And Dallas Daniels was there one day. And it was really cool to see them running the stopwatch on me.
Really? Okay.
That was cool. So, I think everyone's starting to realize that I'm definitely up in my game and trying.
Same thing I asked Briar and most of the riders in the sport, to be honest. It's grown so much so quickly. Do you have to almost stop to remind yourself how crazy this is? Because I don't even know, 2011 when you won, were you even thinking, maybe I'll get a factory ride someday? They didn't really even exist. Do you have to stop yourself every once in a while and be like, wow, I can't believe this is happening?
It's crazy to think back in 2011 when I won that first race. It was literally only recorded because the track had their own video system because it's Knoxville, Iowa. So luckily for me, I got it on video to see it. But, so many of our races back then, you couldn't even watch them now. Yeah. So, and then there was a time where Briar and I were crisscrossing the country 4 or 5 times a year in a van from Pennsylvania to California. So we definitely do not forget those times. Yeah. And, it definitely made us appreciate where we're at today, and I think that's why having a KTM ride for myself and Indy and for Briar it's just so much of a dream and an appreciation that I think you don't experience that in some of the other forms of motorcycle or motorsports because we've had it pretty tough at a time.
Right. Yeah, most of your career, like I said, it's not like it was a factory ride you were even trying to get. It didn't even exist. So has it changed your mentality at all? Like I asked him, does it make you feel like, okay, now I'm a role model, now I'm a spokesperson? Have you thought about those things?
Yeah, definitely. I think, one of the hardest transitions that probably, a lot of the industry never even thought of was a lot of us worked on our own bikes growing up through, didn't have practice mechanics, the whole 9 yards. We were working our bikes, racing on the weekends, repeat. So for now, having that, I feel I need to help be a role model to the other kids coming up through to help make that transition to a factory setting because it's so much different. My first instinct was always picking up a wrench, trying to tell the team what to do, and it's you're a lot more successful trusting your team and your surroundings. So for me, I feel like that's where the most role model from me can come from is back to them.
And so you're at Aldon's and you're on KTM, so you're surrounded by other top racers. Do you notice them? They know who you are. They follow what you do. Does that happen?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like Zach Osborne, huge fan.
Yeah, of course.
I think when Zach's done racing Supercross and Motocross, you might see him at a flat track race. I
wouldn't be surprised.
He's the one day I was testing, and he'd go out, do his moto, come in, get on the golf cart, come watch us, and he was to the point where he was giving me suspension advice from what he saw as a rider, telling me I need to adjust my sag and stuff. And then there's been days where like I said, we're riding around the Supercross tracks. So there's been days where him and Cooper and even RJ Hampshire would come up, sit up on top of one of the jumps. We'd be riding around it, and it's like, holy cow, the pressure's on. These guys are pretty dang good on a motorcycle watching me.
When you go to these other media things you've been pulled in, I even see you end up at the Rolex 24 here and get on there. Again, is it the same thing where you had to be introduced a few years ago, and now it's like, oh, we've heard of Shayna Texter. Is it starting to become more familiar when you go into these other settings? Yeah,
definitely. It's been a whirlwind of change, I feel like, for myself. I catch myself not having to actually introduce myself a lot less. And, It's cool. It's cool to be appreciated. The other night we were hanging out with Ryder DeFrancesco's dad, and he's like a huge fan of mine. And it's cool, this up-and-coming kid didn't look at us. If anything, he was listening to everything we had to say. Mm-hmm. And that's super cool. And it's, just simple as even in your local community, years ago you had to explain what flat track was, dirt track,
Yeah.
And you had to get creative how to explain it because nobody knew what it was, to now where they go, oh, wow, I caught that on NBC and watched it, or I saw it at X Games. So it's really cool to be able to kind of tell our story now.
Finally, for your class and for going for the title, even though that Super Twins you consider the premier class, it seems like there's just as much change and new stuff coming, maybe even more so in your class. And you don't even know necessarily who you're going to battle with, I would think.
Oh, it's crazy. Everyone's stepping up their game, from the riders to the manufacturers to, just the whole nine. And the fans' expectations of all of us, it's becoming tough, So, as of today, I know certain tracks that some guys will excel at, but who's going to be the well-rounded rider this year, I couldn't tell you today.
Well, last year's champ wasn't even going to be racing till like 5 days before the series. It's kind of cool. Like, flat track still, to me, has a little bit of that. Anyone could show up at any weekend. It's still there a little bit. Yeah,
definitely. I think, there's not so much of a science behind it. It's the tracks are so unique. Each track we go to, the dirt changes throughout the day. It's a little bit still of that gamble in racing that I think, it takes, as much of a team, motorcycle, and rider to win than it did, in some other forms where a rider can just be naturally talented and override. Okay. So I think that's what brings our competition so close, is it literally takes your entire team to pull it together to get the win done that day.
Okay, so then that means there must be races where you don't get what you want, and you're like, if we had just done X, if I had just tried this, as opposed to, I don't know what the difference was. There must be races where you can look back an hour later and be like, that was the difference.
Yeah, definitely. I think, for our team in particular, there was days where I went out and I would fast qualify and practice, and we'd fall off the back the rest of the night. And, I credit some of that to a little bit of lack of team knowledge, because everybody in my corner hadn't been around for many years. A lot of these, you got like Kenny Tolbert helping Jarrett Meese, who's been here for how many years? My entire life. Mm-hmm. So I think, there's sometimes a little bit of some knowledge gap difference that helps. But definitely, you're always learning. Keeping a notebook in flat track is, I think, the most crucial tool. Okay. And keeping notes and learning from each experience.
Awesome. And that's Shayna. Last but not least, let's get to Dalton Gautier. Not a man of many words. You talk about the quick transition that this sport has made. Well, Gautier, it's all coming at him quickly. He was a title contender 2 years ago in the singles class, and he actually got popped. Didn't pass a drug test here. And then he had to go to the recovery program to be cleared by AMA Pro Racing. And then he only got cleared right before the opener at Daytona last year after missing a year and a half of racing. He podiumed this opener last year and then went on to win the singles title and then get a factory ride now with Harley-Davidson in the Super Twins division. So it is coming at this guy super fast. And I don't know, as far as like talking to the media and stuff, probably very little experience doing that kind of thing in this sport. They don't grow up, getting grilled on the podium at Loretta Lynn's like they do in the moto scene. So interesting how quickly it's come around. I have to say he was more outspoken here than he was even when I talked to him a year ago. So there you go. It's happening quickly. Did you know, even halfway through last year, twins? Was that hey, twins are coming soon, or did you think you might have more time in singles? Was this coming quickly, or is this what you were thinking your schedule would be as soon as you won the title?
Honestly, it came pretty quickly. Wasn't at the beginning of last year, wasn't expecting to be where I am now. So, a lot's changed in a year. So it's been good. I've been adapting to it, and I've been having fun on the bike. So we've only tested a couple times, but I feel really comfortable on it. And, it's changed a bunch, and I'm just really happy where I'm at right now.
Obviously, literally we're 3 days before this race. 3 days before this race last year. Did you know you were racing even at that point? When did you even know you were going to come back?
I think 5 days before.
Seriously?
Yeah, so we had to get everything overnighted, my suit, my helmets and everything, overnighted to the track so I could be able to race, and wasn't expecting my last year I was honestly expecting to be racing at Texas, which was the third round, which was a month after Daytona, almost more than that.
Right.
So to say I did everything for road to recovery last year to let me race, and AFT called me and said I was allowed to race. So they did everything in their power to let me race, and I did everything in mine. So it worked out, and we came out of here with second. So it was pretty crazy. Nobody expected that. So, yeah, all's been good since then.
So title-wise, you weren't even thinking championship last year because you didn't think you'd even be at the early rounds.
No, not at all. I knew I'd have a fight for some race wins and stuff, but I know a lot of people didn't think that, and I proved them wrong right at the second race of the season. I won, and even at the first race here in Daytona, I just came out with the second, which was pretty crazy, and I qualified 30-something in qualifying last year here and came through the pack during the races. So, yeah, I'm excited to go racing, and this year I'm in a lot better place, and I'm a lot happier, and I know what I need to do now, and now I'm with the big dog, so it's going to be a learning curve for sure.
Even going back to the last time you were racing, before you got suspended and all that, were you eventually thinking Twins is where I want to be? At least, maybe you didn't know how exactly it would work, but this has always been the goal, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all these guys out here, the goal is to be in the Super Twins class. It's the best of the best. This is where the best riders are, so yeah, it's going to be learning for sure this year, the main thing. But I'm going to do what I can and ride like I know how to and show everybody that the Harley's capable of winning, which I know it is. And yeah, it's going to be a good year for sure, I think. So if I stay healthy and just be smart and race to my full potential.
Obviously, when moving up, guys get nervous. They're racing the big names. I feel like that maybe won't affect you as much as some other guys. You seem to just have confidence in yourself, whatever the situation is, that you can go out there and mix it up.
Yeah, I know I can be up there. I mean, I've raced with Jared Mees and all them before. I beat Jared Mees when I was 15 years old, before I even had my pro card. So I know I can do it. It's just going to be a lot of learning. These guys know what they're doing, and they're smart, and their race tactics and race approach are crazy smart. So, yeah, it's just going to be putting all the puzzle pieces together and just going out and having fun. That's when I feel like I'm doing the best, and just having fun, and going to give these guys for Harley a win or two hopefully this year.
How much of a test was it for you mentally to all of a sudden to go from, I didn't even know I was going to race, then you're scrambling, then you're leading the points so you can't even afford bad races? How much did you learn from that whole experience trying to manage all these emotions and not let pressure get to you and even just get to the races and stuff?
Yeah, last year was a big stress, honestly, getting to the races, not messing up at the races. I mean, we had a bunch of races where I made mistakes, or we had bike problems, and that's where it came down to okay, I need to be the best I can be at every single race, and even some races I didn't even do as good as I thought I was going to do. So for sure, it's gonna be big this year. I'm in a lot better place. I'm a lot happier, and I don't have to worry about how my bikes are getting to the track and all this other crap, and that my bike's gonna make it through the race. I mean, now I got a whole factory team behind me, so it's gonna be huge. I got Jared Vanderkoy and Brian Smith to learn from, and them two have been really, really appreciative with me coming on the team and helping me out. So I'm just gonna try and help them out. And we're all just gelling really well together and just going to have some fun, like I said.
Last thing, for moto people who don't understand, what kind of prep can you do? It's not like you can ride the bike for 3-4 days a week necessarily on a practice track. What do you do to prepare for the season? Yeah,
it's definitely not the same as motocross. It's a little different. I mean, we got guys out there on the road bikes and going to the gym, but it's still not. I feel for me is riding motocross, honestly, is my best CrossFit for flat track. I mean, motocross is so demanding, and it helps me out a bunch with arm pump and getting tight at the races and stuff. So motocross is my main priority during the week or weekends. Just try and ride as much as I can, or for as long as I can. So yeah, that helped me out a bunch this past off season. Last year I didn't get to really ride any motocross because I didn't have a motocross bike. So now
I'm riding it all really before Daytona and anything.
We did some testing, but that's about it. I mean, I've been riding motocross and ever since the season stopped last year, and every weekend as much as I can. So I even rode with Brian a couple times in motocross. And down here in Florida, I mean, the tracks are really bitching, so they're fun and it's good for us. And I still go to the gym and every once in a while, but I feel like riding's my best cross training. So yeah.
But this is so weird. So your actual race bike or a bike like it, a Super Twins type bike, how many times have you actually ridden it, say, since you were done racing last year and now?
3.
3 times? 3. But is that fairly normal for AFT?
No, not really. I mean, but honestly, the 3 times that I rode it, I was really comfortable on it, and I was busting out laps. I know, like, we tested last week in Texas, and I probably rode 50, 60 laps at a time. Okay. So I went out there and busted laps out. Motos, as you would say, you guys. Yeah. But, I felt really comfortable, so I didn't really have to change much on the bike.
Final thing is that this is a TT. It's a totally different type of race. You've done well here, though. So do you look at it like, we don't really know where we stand after this? Or do you look at it like, no, man, this is a race I want to do good?
No, I definitely want to do good. I want to do good at all the races, you know. And for here at Daytona, I've only been off the podium once ever since I turned pro. Yeah. So I feel like I have that capability to be up front with these guys, and just not going to worry about them guys, honestly. Just go out and ride like I know how to, and it should come. So, I mean, I rode the bike 3 times, but I feel really great on it. So I feel like I'll be up front, and I'm going to prove a lot of people wrong. So,
yeah, what do you think? As a rookie, are they waiting for like a learning curve that you don't think is going to be there?
I mean, there's a lot of people that bash Harley Davidson because they haven't won in 6 years. So that's going to be huge once I get up front and show these guys that I can win on the thing like I know I can. So that's the main thing, is just proving a bunch of people wrong. That like last year I proved a lot of people wrong just here at this first race. So I'm going to try and do the same thing and just have fun with it. The Harley guys are really excited to have me on the team, and me and Brian and Jared are gelling really well together. So yeah, it couldn't be better.
Sounds like this motivates you a little bit. Whatever reason the doubts, if it was you last year or the bike this year, that's motivation for you, sounds like.
Well, I still feel like even after the championship last year, I still have a lot to prove. And I still have to gain my respect for these guys in the twins class, because I didn't race them at all last year. So they haven't raced with me. A lot of them I haven't even raced with. So it's just learning is the biggest thing for me right now. It's just going to have to learn what I'm doing with these guys and how their race approach is and all the other good stuff.
But you're not going to be happy if you're just learning. You want some results, it sounds like.
For sure, yeah. I want to win some races for sure, but I'd be happy to come out of here with a top 5. Yeah. But I'd be ecstatic if I won the race or it was on the box. So that's my plan, is be on the box. But if it doesn't go well, then top 5 is my next goal.
Okay, that's Gauthier, and that is our show. Big thanks to Yoshimura, our title sponsor. Yep, there's some Yoshimura exhausts out there, especially in the singles class, where we take 450 motocross bikes and turn them into flat trackers. Again, you can watch a race on NBCSN this weekend. It is unique. Flat track races generally are dirt ovals. Occasionally they run these TTs where they throw in a right-hand turn and a jump. And then only one time a year they have a TT that actually has pavement on it. This is dirt track, is essentially what flat track is. It's known for riding on dirt. Pavement is rare. So they run the high banks here at Daytona on the flat track bikes. It's totally weird, totally different. But what's odd is I cannot say that the results at this race have been that crazy. The cream usually rises to the top. So even though it's a different type of track than most of the races this year, it's still a legitimate test of who's been putting in the work and who's going to be strong all season. I'll do a little bench racing with you real quick so you'll know what to watch this weekend. Factory Indian. Indian was a dead brand. It had been revived several times. It was really popular in the 40s. Several attempts to revive it. None of them worked. And then all of a sudden, Polaris, who has a ton of money because of their success in ATVs and snowmobiles and Razor side-by-sides, they bought the company, pumped huge money into it, made the street bike line desirable and successful, I think. And they also put money into the flat track team. They built an all-new bike, and that Indian machine has completely dominated the sport 2017, 2018, 2019. The question is, has anyone caught up to them? The Harley-Davidson machine has struggled versus the Indian. A lot of people think it's going to be a lot better this year. Brian Smith and his tuner, Ricky Howerton, who won the title a couple of years ago before the Indian came in. They're noted as some of the best in the business as setting up motorcycles. They're now part of the Harley outfit. I talked to Brian today. He's very encouraged with how competitive the bike can be. So we might finally get the Indian Harley-Davidson battle rivalry that everyone wanted to see for the last couple of years. And then a lot of other brands have stepped up that effort in the twins class as well, like Yamaha. They should be good also. And then in the singles class, you've got all manner of factory teams now. It's not Motocross, Supercross level money yet. What really has happened is a lot of the efforts, I think, that used to go into American road racing have now rolled over here. So these are legitimate efforts. Like I said, sport's kind of in a sweet spot. There's getting to be money and prestige, but it's still it's still pretty rough around the edges. It's still pretty open, still pretty unfiltered. And that's kind of cool in its own way when, in the Supercross scene, or you give it higher up in motorsports, MotoGP or NASCAR or Formula One. Everybody's been there, done that, tried that. It's kind of neat to see something where every single year there's massive change and growth, and then you have to see how everyone adapts to it. But right now the Indian team has been fairly well unstoppable, and I guess that's the real question. Will that continue in 2020 or not? We're going to see. All right, that's our show. I'll be back next week, and maybe by then I'll finally not be at Daytona, because I'm spending a lot of days down here.